Good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever it is, wherever you are, and thank you as always for listening to the Backlog Busting Project. It is now episode 10. Wow. My name is Wes. With me, as always, is Randy.
I hope all of you had a wonderful 4th of July weekend.
Indeed. Plenty of fireworks, including a lot of people lighting them off at like 10:30 in the morning. Did you hear any of that, or?
No. I mean, where I live, it's kind of, there's not a lot around here, so I'm not, surrounded by a bunch of people, so I guess I missed out on that.
Oh, so. I actually live on one of the main drags in town now, so, and a block away from a fireworks stand.
So, that'll do it.
Yeah, so my 4th of July and my 3rd of July were basically a whole bunch of loud bangs, couple seconds of silence, and then another series of loud bangs.
And just to kind of go to my other podcast roots, football to football, more fireworks from the U.S. women. They destroyed Japan in the finals, which was awesome. Sadly, not sadly, I had a good time. We had my son's birthday party, and I meant to turn it on kind of just in the background, and we were doing other things and forgot. And then, when everything's kind of settling down, I look and it's
5-1.
Yeah. Just at that point, it was like, well, I don't need to watch it anymore. It's already over. And just the fact that they scored, 4 goals in 16 minutes.
Yeah.
And the fourth one was from midfield.
Yeah. And it was one person getting a hat trick in 15 minutes. Which
first
is
time ever.
Jesus.
Yeah. Not only first time ever did a woman get a hat trick in the World Cup finals, she did it in 16 minutes.
Yeah.
So, nerds, look up soccer. I don't know what we can do with there, but
football. Anyway,
let's get back to our nerd roots. Please.
Yes, let's. So this is going to be a little bit of an interesting episode for reasons we'll get into a little bit later. But since it's been a little bit since we had a traditional episode, let's ease back into things and start off with Player A.
Yes.
And we'll ease up. We'll ease into things a little bit further and do something a little obvious, perhaps. But Rory McIlroy PGA Tour 16.
Yes.
Of course, published by EA and developed by EA.
Tiburon, to be specific.
The makers of Madden as well. It is coming out on July 14th for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. I'm actually kind of surprised they aren't doing previous gen versions of this.
Yeah, I have to agree. I'm to that point where I think they need to get away from old gen.
It is.
But sports games are the ones that stick around the longest.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I will say, it is technically the old Tiger Woods games. But I guess they're looking at this as a fresh start, so why not have the fresh start on the new console with the new name and all that. From what I've heard of this game, they don't have that many licensed golfers, which is a little disappointing. You'd think we're now PS4, Xbox One, they should have 100 licensed golfers, but they have very few.
Yeah. That's probably owing to, the PGA not exactly being as, I guess want to say close-knit. Well, I don't think that's the term I'm really looking for.
I just looked
Controlling.
It up. On top of it, they only have 8 real-world courses.
Wow.
And 4 fantasy courses. Are we back in the PS2 era?
Yeah, okay, sorry, that's a bit low. I already knew what my answer was going in, and this just makes me feel better about it. So, obviously, nay. I'm not much of a golf fan in the first place, and I'm terrible at golf games, as Randy can attest to, because he's seen me play multiple times.
Yeah, especially when we would use the Move controls for the PS3. That was hysterical. No, I'm right there with you. This is a nay for me. It's one of those situations where I'm at the point where obviously I don't have a lot of money, so I can't just buy games willy-nilly. And sports games are one of those where, other than the baseball game where I get every year, it's kind of a pick and choose, get it every 2, 3, 4 years. And when you're offering me 4 real world courses, I'll wait till next year when you can...
8 real world, 4 fantasy, I think you said.
Correct. And, so I'll just wait till next year and maybe they'll add a bunch more, and if not, I'll wait again. I don't need a golf game in my life.
Yeah.
That bad.
No.
So that's an A for me too.
Yeah, I mean, if it had a bit more going for it, maybe we'd be a bit more inclined to give it a shot, but no. I mean, 8 real world courses, English, and 4 fantasy courses, and then a low amount of golfers. It's just kind of like, what the fuck? Yeah. So, we're gonna move on to one that's coming out that's, also, kind of going to be talked about in this episode, a little bit, after a fashion. God of War 3 Remastered comes out also on July 14th for the PlayStation 4.
Let me just get this out of the way. This is a nay for me. I'm so... Not because it's bad. I have not yet played the third God of War. Mm-hmm. I have beaten the first one, and... God of War 2 is a game that will be on my backlog this project at some point. I want to say I got about halfway through it. I enjoyed those games. I want to play the third one, but I'm going to play it on my PS3. I am tired. I don't want to spend all this money on remasters of games I already own. Okay, stop it with the single game remasters need to stop. If you want to put them in a collection, by all means. I mean, if you want to lower down people's collections and save space by going, okay, now here's 4 games in one cartridge.
Yeah.
Let's go old school with cartridges.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you want to do that, I understand. One game that came out just a few years ago, you want somebody to buy it again for $60. Give me a break.
Yeah. I can kind of see that.
And by the way, God of War 3 I own and spent $20 on because Walmart bought 9 billion of these things. And there were a 3-month span where they just had a shelf of 100 God of War 3 games going, please, $20. We'll take anything. Because there were so many. So why do they think people are going to just flock to a remaster? They didn't flock to this one.
This is a fair point.
Nay.
So, this one's a little interesting for me because obviously my game this episode is the first God of War. I beat the first God of War for this episode. I will be playing 2 at some point, and I will be playing 3 at some point. Now, since I do not own 3 on my PS3, I'm going to go play here because...
To play it on the system you don't have.
Well, at some point, I will have a PS4, and I figure I might as well get, the remastered version if I'm going for a game I don't own yet. If I were to own God of War 3 on the PS3, I'd agree with you. I'd be going nay.
So, just hypothetical, when you get your PS4, are you getting rid of your PS3?
No.
Okay. So, what is the difference between the remaster and the one for the PS3, since they're only a few years apart, that would make you go from, say, I'll even say it's still $20 out there. Mm. Like I said, I bought mine for $20 2 years ago. So say $20 for the PS3 version or $60 for the remaster. What's the difference? Why would you want it for the PS4 then?
Probably just, for the slightly, for the graphics are slightly improved.
Ooh. $40 worth?
Okay. You might have me there, but at the same time, I figure it's not going to say 60 forever. So if this is going to be in the future at this point. So if it goes on sale or it becomes a PS Plus title at some point down the road, then I'll pick it up there. So I'll go ahead and pick it up.
It frustrates me. They released the 8 HD collection of God of War, which was 1 and 2. Mm. When 3 was coming out. Why couldn't they put those 2 in this with God of War 3 and release all 3? I just don't understand how it's just the one game.
Or at the very least, Ascension.
Yeah, I mean, even then. But at that point, I mean, who knows space-wise and all that. But,
yeah.
I mean, to add 2 PS2 games, it's not that big of it. I don't just to put one game in its own release thing drives me nuts.
Yeah, I and to an extent I agree with you. Like I said, if I already owned 3, I'd be same exact way. But since I don't own it yet, and at some point I would like to have a PS4, I'd see no reason not to try and get the remastered over the original. So I'm gonna go play. But your mileage may vary, I guess.
Yeah.
So this next game, I heard you say the title, and I was like, okay, and you kind of had that same reaction. And then we looked up the gameplay of it, and we both immediately went, holy fuck. This podcast is about to become the This Game Project.
Yes.
And that game is Rocket League. Developed by Psygnosis, I think it was. Psionics. Psygnosis was Wipeout. Hello. There's an old school one for you. But, published by them as well. It's coming out for PlayStation 4 and PC on today, actually, July 7th. This is...
And if you're a PlayStation Plus member, you get it for free.
Yep.
I think. Unless I misread something a couple days ago.
I'll
re-look it up while you're talking about it.
Okay. So this is basically like a hybrid fusion of like car racing and soccer and like destruction derby all fused together into one. And, the trailer for it makes it look absolutely batshit. Like just things like your car's blowing up and the ball's going 3 different places and holy shit, what's going on? Oh, I just scored. Yay, I guess.
This is like...
And your brain doesn't have time to breathe, almost.
This is like Twisted Metal meets Wipeout meets FIFA. Basically.
Yeah.
Meets BattleBots meets... I'm sure... we looked up a couple trailers. I'm sure there's things that we don't exactly know about, like power-ups or different game modes or anything like that. And yes, if you're a PlayStation Plus person and you have a PS4, you get Rocket League for free. There went all of my productivity, which has been lacking as of late anyways.
Well,
yay,
mine has
summer.
been too, but... Well, my gaming productivity has been lacking, but we'll get into that in a minute.
We get Rocket League for free, and on my Vita, I get Geometry Wars for free. Bye.
Yeah.
We'll see you in 2 months with our next episode.
The sad part is that's almost true.
Well, our next live episode.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. But I think it's safe to say it's a play for both of us. It also has split screen, so Wes, whenever you're bored, you can come play Rocket League with me.
Yeah.
Alright?
Well, man, I just realized it has been a while since we sat in the same room and gamed.
That's what happens when you get old. Stupid jobs.
Don't remind me about getting old because my birthday is this week.
Well, at least you don't have a 7-year-old son now.
Okay, valid point.
Okay, so let's move on to the last one. This is a game that I remember playing one of its predecessors back in the day for the original PlayStation. I'd never played it that much. It was one of those I'd play at a friend's or whatever. The game I'm talking about this time, it's Deception 4, The Nightmare Princess. It's developed and published by
Koei Tecmo.
Yep. And it is coming out July 14th. So what I had brought up to you...
PS4, right?
Oh,
I believe. Sorry.
The whole PlayStation family. 3, 4, and Vita.
Oh, hey, cool. I can actually play this.
So I was telling you before the podcast when we were looking up games, when I saw the Deception was coming out, I went, wow, they're making another one? And I had to look it up to make sure my brain wasn't playing tricks.
Yeah.
And the old Deception games that I remember is basically you are getting chased and you set up traps around this castle or whatever and then lead them and trick them into these traps to then kill them and whatever. And I got a little worried when we Wikipedia'd it and the fourth one said it's more action. But then we looked at the trailer and it's exactly what I remember,
With everything turned up to 11. Yeah.
A lot of anime and goofiness thrown into it. So instead of just an axe coming down, it's like, now, they see a toilet seat and they sit down and that launches them into a fly swatter which shoots them off. I mean, obviously it looks like a lot of fun and the crazy things that you can come up with to use traps against these people. It looks way over the top. It is a play for me, but probably not at the $60 price range. Because, from what I remember from the old Deception games, I think it's one of those games that'll get stale after a while, because it is the same thing over and over. It's going to be curious how they if they slowly give you new abilities and new challenges and stuff. So, maybe a bargain bin hit, but I'm definitely interested in it.
Yeah, that's about where I am on it too. A bargain bin play, because I didn't play the original series. I vaguely heard of it through other people talking about like the previous game in the series, and I've got so much other Japanese stuff in my collection that it's kind of I didn't think I needed more, and then I saw the trailer and I kind of went, okay. You have my attention, So, same spot as you, I think. Play if it goes bargain bin, or like becomes for some strange reason becomes a PS Plus title. But yeah. And now we're gonna move along here. We're gonna move into the games we've been trying to play over the last month. Month being because of the E3 episode. We're going to start right off with our co-played game. Yes. And I use that term very loosely this time around.
Yes.
This game, Deus Ex Human Revolution, released August 23rd, 2011 for the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, PC, and also had a port to the Wii U. It was developed by Eidos Montreal and published by Square-Enix.
And it was so bad, it doesn't even get an HD remix. How about that? Give you a preview?
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, Wes, tell your story.
Okay, so, over the last 2 weeks since the E3 episode, I've basically fallen backwards in being able to move into a new place. So a lot of my time has been dedicated to that. And as a result, with so much other stuff going on, I had to cut some of my game time, and this is the game that basically got cut because I could not tolerate playing it for extended periods of time. But this game, I wanted so badly to give it a shot, because going into it, all I knew was that it was a Deus Ex game, and that just about everybody whose opinion I respected gushed about the original Deus Ex. Not so much Invisible War, but the original Deus Ex. And then they also had usually positive things to say about Human Revolution. So, when the opportunity came up to play this, I was kind of like, okay, let's give it a shot. So I pop it in, I start playing, and the farthest I got in this game is I'm about halfway through the first non-tutorial level. And then I have not touched that game pretty much since. And the reason why is because I find the characters and story of this game to be so bland and unengaging as to be almost insulting.
Yeah, I have one thing I really noticed, on top of the characters being boring and you don't care about any of them. Like, there's one snarky dude that's part of your
Oh, God, group, I think I know who you're talking about.
But you don't even care. He's just being a douche, basically.
One of the first lines he says to you is, you're a cop, you don't know shit about computers. Something like that.
Basically.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, whatever. I am a computer at this point. But, it was one of those things where they have cutscenes, and they have this like dark visual stuff, and then these really quiet voices.
Yeah.
That, not to the point where like I needed to turn the volume up. They were just, it was like what I heard Peter Dinklage did for Destiny, where he just seemed so disinterested. Mm-hmm. It's like this whole cast just seemed so disinterested in it. It's like, the main character is he's talking like this. And, he just, I have to do this. I have to figure out who hurt me. And I'm like, what? Come on, something. Yeah.
Emote!
And he was like that before all this shit happened.
Yeah.
So basically, I mean, to break down the plot that we know of, because I have not finished it either. I am on the first boss. I am stuck there because of my inability to get used to their leveling up system, which was a little bit more intricate than I was ready for, and the idea of restarting the fucking game, just, I didn't want to.
Yeah.
But so basically, the beginning of the story is you're at Seraph Industries, I guess you could say terrorists attack, and you get caught up in an explosion. They rush to fix you with their crazy futuristic technologies and turn you into a half human, half robot.
Yeah.
I'm looking at you, RoboCop.
Yeah. Or the $6 million man.
Or him.
By the way, I'm sorry. I knew I was going to have a bad time with this game when that intro happens. Like, you do the tutorial stage, of, Jensen kind of setting up the plot of him, they've apparently found this amazing new discovery to help control human evolution, and it's just like, and he needs to be security to help the scientists get to Washington to make this, to speak to this panel. And so he's going through the industry setting up security, he gets attacked. And while he's getting rebuilt is when, is when the intro plays and, the opening credits roll. And I'm sitting there and this intro is playing and it's not really showing anything. And all I'm doing is I'm sitting there doing the spiel from the $6 million man. Like, we can rebuild him. We have the technology. And I'm just like, and I was doing that and I just realized, holy shit, I'm already riffing on this game. Like, usually I like to at least give games a chance before I start openly, hating their guts. I didn't even get out of the intro before I was sitting there going, man, fuck this.
I will give it a little bit of props for its controls. They're pretty fluid. I didn't have any issues moving around until you get into cover. Because it had, obviously, it's a third-person shooter game. Mm-hmm. It has to have
waist-high cover.
Yes. Yeah. So you get into that, and you come out, like, the way you control and cover, I think, was broken. I don't think it worked the way it wanted to, or I couldn't make it work the way I thought it should. But you'd be in cover, and shooting was a pain, and then you'd come out of cover, and, like, the camera had a seizure. Yeah. Trying to figure out where it wanted to be positioned. Yeah. So you'd come out of cover to go position yourself somewhere else really quick, especially because some of these missions you can sneak or you can fight. And if you're trying to sneak and you're going through cover, you go quickly and the camera jars and you take 3 seconds to go, where am I facing? Where am I going? And it turns out bad. But I thought the moving around felt fluid and some of the animations were, but there were still issues. There was a spot later on in the game where I am dragging a downed enemy to hide him so I don't get caught, because there was a point where there's a ton of enemies, and if you try to take them head on at where I was physically, I had no chance. So I was trying to hide him in the room, and, they have the flail mechanics going on, and his arm, for whatever reason... Yeah, thank you. His arm glitches and goes through the floor, and he gets stuck.
Wow.
And I couldn't get him out. Well, it was like a grate. Mm-hmm. And he just got stuck there. And I couldn't get him out, and while I'm trying to fix it, I got caught.
Nice.
So, at that point, I was like, well... And I'm like you. Listen, we've had this set up for a month. We've had a lot of things go on with E3, where we took a lot of time out to help with 411, which was awesome. So, it's not like we've been playing this for a month, on top of some personal things, my son's birthday, you moving, work, all that stuff. And that's fine, but I would put this game on nearly every night for about a week and a half, 2 weeks straight, going, alright, this is the time, I'm going to get a couple hours in, I got some free time on my hands, 15 minutes later I'm turning it off and I'm playing Peggle 2, or baseball, or... the game I had to play for this podcast. Yeah. I just, 15 minutes in every time.
Yeah.
Every time.
That was pretty much where I was too. I I was a lot less tolerant of bullshit, than you were. Because, like I said, I had, especially while I was moving. Because the last thing I wanted to do after a day of unpacking stuff or moving stuff around was sit there and play a game I utterly despised. So, I would sit there and I would do prep for Metal Gear Month. Or I would play my game for this podcast. And then I would, after I'd done a little bit of that, when finally unwound a bit, then I would try Deus Ex. And I would do basically the same thing you did. 15 minutes later, I'd be shutting it off and going, okay, fuck this, I'm done. And, matter of fact, the last time I tried, obviously I'm still in the first non-tutorial level, but I don't know what exactly happened, but I was moving from one basically firefight to another, even though I was trying to be a little bit stealthy, and an enemy caught me, and not only did they shoot at me, but they somehow managed to one-shot me from full health. And I'm sorry, that is just not something that should be happening in the first level of your game, unless it is a super obvious, what the fuck are you doing, you dumbass. It should not be happening just because you walked over here with no prior warning. So I don't know if it was a glitch, or if, something in my...
You got critted.
Yeah. I'm just like... That was I literally, that happened, and I literally just held the PS button down and went turn off console. And I was just like, nope, sorry, done. And maybe I just wasn't in the right frame of mind for this game at this point, but I just, I just couldn't. I couldn't play it, couldn't stand it, and honestly, I'm actually kind of surprised that this game has enough fans for something like Mankind Divided to happen. I just don't see the appeal here. And it is what it is. I guess I'll give it another shot because we're going to have a little bit of a gap coming up here with Metal Gear Month going on. I'll give it another shot here, later on in August. But right now, I came this close to deleting that game off my hard drive and just saying, fuck it. Yeah.
I would understand.
Yeah. I was just like, nope, done. Moving on. Yeah. I'm gonna go play God of War or, Metal Gear Solid 4 or Revengeance or Peace Walker. Yeah. And just, ugh.
So is this our first nuke off our backlog game?
Well, I think it's the first one we're both nuking. Yeah. Well, I guess I wouldn't use that term because I still do plan to go back and do Crash at some point. It just hasn't. The stars have not aligned for that. That's probably another one I'll take another look at here in August. And then, I would say I nuked Hotline Miami, except I actually finished that.
Yeah.
So,
and with me and Conquer, I can't quite nuke it because I'm so close.
Yeah.
I just have to figure out what side mission I didn't finish so I can move on at some point. So I'll probably finish that on a rainy day, like if we get one of these podcasts where I pick 2 games that don't take that long to beat.
Yeah.
Which doesn't seem to... Well, it might be this podcast, but with Metal Gear Month it wouldn't happen. But it definitely will not happen until the winter because some of the games we have penciled in are time consuming. So
yeah,
I truly think this will be the only game that neither of us beat in 2015 that's part of the co-play.
Yeah, yeah. It's just I don't know what we did wrong here, or even if it's on us. For the most part, because just about everybody, before I started talking with the 411 staff, just about every opinion I'd seen on this game was positive.
Yes.
But then, we were talking during the E3 podcast with some of the 411 Mania staff, and I can't remember who it was, but there was literally a reaction of, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, it was like our funeral. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it was Mark that brought that up, and he also admitted it's a very hot or cold subject. So, listen, if you love this game and you hate what we're saying about it, please message us, whether it's on iTunes or on the backlog busting.com webpage or on 411.
Or Twitter at Backlog Busting.
There you go. Just get a hold of us. Let us know. We would love to hear why we're so wrong or how we are butchering a game that you guys enjoy.
But keep it civil, please. I know that's asking a lot of internet comments, but keep it civil.
Right now, I will take uncivil.
Valid point.
That's okay. I mean, if it was a game I really liked and two doofuses were on a podcast just going, well, I couldn't get through the first boss, alright? Well, I was like, well, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So, listen, I would like to know why somebody enjoys this game. I really do. So, civil or uncivil, I would love to hear from you.
Okay. So, I think we've both kind of gotten a little bit of our anger out. I think this next game, though, for you, might be a bit on the...
It's a different kind of anger, and we'll get to it. So let's just get to it. It's Epic Mickey for the Wii. It was developed by Junction Point Studios and published by Disney Interactive Studios. It came out November 30th, 2010.
Which, while you're kind of gathering your thoughts there, I just remembered this.
Right.
Epic Mickey, Junction Point Studios, was founded by Warren Spector, who is also somebody you might know if you're a fan of the Deus Ex series, because he made the original Deus Ex.
Wow.
Small gaming world, isn't it?
A little bit. Which you will get into on your game.
Small gaming world? Oh, yeah. I remember what you're on now.
So anyways, hit the plot, because, I mean, it's a Wii game. It's about Mickey Mouse. There's not much plot. So, Mickey finds a magic mirror, goes through it, finds a painting, messes around with the paintbrush, which screws things up.
Yeah.
And then he goes back to the magic mirror, goes to sleep, and then years later, like the old Mickey Mouse cartoons, you see the calendar pages,
right,
or whatever changes. The thing in the mirror comes back, pulls Mickey back through, brings him into that world that he has screwed up. And it's basically a land of all of the forgotten Disney characters from, like, the 30s that, didn't make it, like Mickey Mouse and all of
right.
that. But their world has been taken over by this goop. I wish I would have wrote down what it was called so I could sound smarter.
Yeah.
But it's goop.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's thinner. There we go. It's thinner. Paint thinner. Haha. But, so it's messing up the worlds. Monsters are coming out of it. Things are just wrong. So, that is basically the main story, is you trying to fix it, and you're meeting the character there that is set up there. Why am I blanking? Oswald, sorry.
Yeah.
Who is an old, 1920s character.
Right. He's basically Mickey Mouse 1.0.
Yes.
Or beta version.
Yeah, absolutely. And they do a good job of showing that. So he's there. He's very jealous of Mickey. Obviously, he became famous. There's even a point that I really liked where there's a statue of Walt Disney holding the hand of Oswald instead of Mickey Mouse. So they do a lot of cool things like that, which is what I love about this game. It's the nostalgia factor. It's the history lessons. It's all of the stuff about the Mickey Mouse world that they kind of explore, but mostly in cameos. There's a level later on that's kind of like a wasteland area, like a dump yard. And you're going around, and all of a sudden, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Those are like NES cartridges or whatever. And then I looked, it's Mickey Mousecapades, the old NES game.
Yeah. Oh, God.
I'm standing on it. And then you look around, and there's more of them, and there's some of the Super Nintendo Mickey Mouse games and stuff. So they're even saying... But I just love that they're in the trash, because the game is so bad. And
I'm sorry.
Leave the Game Grumps reference out, please.
God damn it!
If you have not seen Game Grumps do their review, it is quite possibly the funniest thing on the internet. And definitely possibly one of the funniest things they've done. I like Game Grumps. It's a great episode. But... So the nostalgia stuff is awesome. To get in between worlds, you play a mini 2D platformer. Okay? Mm-hmm. And that controls pretty well. and it's based on these worlds from like the 1920s and 1930s. So it's like, I mean, it's great nostalgia.
So you're playing through like Steamboat Willie and stuff even earlier than that.
I mean, up until like the last things you do is Fantasia. So I mean, when Fantasia is the last thing you're doing, and like Sleeping Beauty, it's very old material.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I thought they missed on is you get film reels in these. Like, you have to go out of your way to get them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, this would be great if they even just show a clip of that cartoon that you're playing this through. And it's like they kind of had the idea because there's a vendor that you give those film reels to, and he gives you power-ups.
Right.
Or special items or whatever. Well, 2 of those special items are actual cartoons. One of Oswald and one of Mickey Mouse. But that's it. You get 2 cartoons instead of the 36 that I think that are in the game. So, I mean, I understand you can't maybe you couldn't fit 36 cartoons in there.
Mm-hmm.
But...
yeah, especially on a Wii disc. Yeah.
Well, I'll get to that. Because... okay, so let's... I want to stay on the positives first, because there are positives to this game. I love the paint mechanics. I mean, I understand they made it just because this is where we had to do something with the Wii Remote.
Yeah.
But this was pretty interesting. It's kind of like Super Mario Sunshine, but obviously it's not on your back.
Yeah.
And you go both ways. So you're not just clearing out thinner or whatever. You can paint over stuff and create, or you can dismantle. So, like, if there's a door in your way that works... yeah. You can take it down and go through it. But if there's a platform that used to be there, you put the paint up there, you create a platform, you keep moving. That kind of stuff was actually interesting.
Right, yeah.
And it works really well, and there are a few bosses that it's great. It also created a split way to play the game. Because every enemy, well, most enemies, there's some that just, say, piss off to the paint anyways. You can either kill with a thinner, or you can befriend with paint. So you can kill them, or they become your friends, and they will help you. Sometimes. I'll get into that.
Yeah.
And it's the same with the bosses. You can forgive them or whatever.
Yeah.
Atone for their issues. And
I get what you're saying.
Or you just straight up kill them with a thinner. And some bosses are more difficult to go the good guy route.
Right.
Which I can understand. So that's some of the good stuff. Let's just get right into the bad. The camera is one of the worst you will ever play. It doesn't help that, obviously, for me, I didn't play a lot of Wii games. So that kind of controls I'm not used to on top of it. But then you add in this terrible camera that decides to do whatever it's wanting to do, where trying to aim at something with one hand while going, oh shit, the camera's doing something weird, and trying to fix it with the thumb of that same hand while moving around with the other hand is nearly impossible without pulling your hair out. It also does the way the Wii is set up, it just doesn't allow for like relaxed gameplay to me. It's tough to kick back and play that with all the stuff that's going on. The other huge thing for me is this game is 95% filler, which makes it really sad that they only could fit 2 cartoons. Because so much of this game, it's, okay, go through this door. Oh, this door's not here because you have to solve this puzzle. But this puzzle is go talk to this guy that's across the room.
Nice.
It's not even a puzzle. It's go waste your time by going there, or go make one jump and.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
So those kind of things are really frustrating.
Another thing I kind of picked up on watching you finish the game earlier today. Was there are a few fake outs, more than a few fake outs in the lead up to the ending of the game.
I don't want to get there yet. Thank you, but Okay. So, you remember those games, like, we'll say, like, old school Resident Evil games, that you find handgun ammo. Do you want to pick up the handgun ammo? Yes or no?
Yeah.
That's every door.
Oh.
Every door. Do you want to go through this? Yeah. That's why I walked through it. So that gets old. Where's the other thing I was just looking at? Oh, I understand you can't really fit in the voice acting. But please, you want to hear Mickey Mouse.
Yeah. Yeah, I did notice a bit of that, yeah. Like, in the bit I watched.
And I will say, I mean, obviously when there's things where you click A to move forward, which is fine with me. There's the cutscenes, you don't push A to go forward. And some of those things, because there's no voice acting, you have to read. And there's a few points where there's a sentence going on, and I'm trying to read it, and it goes away. And you go, well, I don't, what happened? Because it just, the spacing of it, the timing of it's a little weird. Okay, so let's go ahead. Okay, there is one boss I want to talk about. It's, you go to Ventureland, and it's basically Peter Pan. And Captain Hook has been turned into a mechanical robot thing. Based on, it's more of a, so it can bring in a new enemy mechanic.
Right.
Which is fine. I'm totally cool with it. And so you get to Captain Hook's ship, and he's on basically a rail. So there's like there's 4 barrels or something like this on the ship, and he can pop out of there, and your whole goal is to hit him with a thinner to make the barrel disappear, and to daze him, and then go up and do your spin attack, and then you shoot him down this rail system. Well, while you're doing that as well, you have to switch a couple intersections, because your whole goal is to make him go through the right rail and off of the ship into the croc.
Yeah.
Awesome mechanic. The different ways to beat the boss and all the things you have to think about really kind of test you in a good way. There's a lot of bosses where it's all camera issues that make it difficult. This one is just strictly, can you figure out the puzzle while he's shooting at you, and then have the ability to daze him and all of that. So that boss, to me, favorite boss of the game. Least favorite boss of the game is actually the final boss, but not the final ending of the game, like you were bringing up. You fight the big shadow blot or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're basically on this island where, death all around, and you fall off the edges, you're gone or whatever. There was a point where I was near the edge, and he bumped me, and I go off the edge, and, the old hanging on to the edge mechanic.
Yeah.
So, I go to jump to get back on. Well, as I jump, the camera decides to flip.
Yeah.
So instead of jumping up, I jumped out and killed myself. There's a lot of that. And then, as you said, there's a fake out, and it's like, well, that's not really the final boss. You've just been facing little droplets. So now, here comes the real thing. And now I will say it's a pretty funny scene where Oswald and Mickey go to make up, and Mickey finally admits that he is the reason for all of this with the paint thinner, and Oswald gets mad, and he jumps up on the cork, which is holding the bottle, which has all the crazy blot in there, and gets mad, is jumping up and down, acting like he's going to fight, and he breaks the cork, and that's what releases it. It's like old Mickey humor and stuff like that. Another really good humor part near the end, so now the big blot is out, and they're like, well, and he takes Mickey's heart, which basically means Mickey's now stuck in this world. And now if the blot gets strong enough and he has the heart, he can now leave this world and go to the real world, which could cause havoc. So they plan to take this rocket and shoot it at the blot and go through the blot and get the heart. Well, they shoot off in the rocket, they're all in there, and all of a sudden the blot sees them and starts taking the paint off the rocket, because, he's basically thinner.
Yeah.
And your little helper goes, we're losing the hull. He's like, yeah, he's stripping away the paint. He goes, this spaceship is made of paint? He goes, yeah, budget cuts. I was like, there is good humor in this. But, so you get there, and you have to go through these 3 towers, and this is where the game lost me. I was teetering on whether I liked this game, because the 2D stuff was great, some of the nostalgia was great, but I don't think they went that way very well, and they added a lot of filler instead, and a lot of side quests and stuff. And this is where it lost me, because it took everything I did not like in this game, the controls, the camera, platforming is a terrible idea in this 3D game. The 2D is fine, but platforming in 3D is a pain. And the whole last hour of this game is pushing your abilities to the test while fighting the controls of the game and the camera of the game. Not fighting enemies.
Mm-hmm.
Fighting the controls.
Yeah.
And the final boss I talked about where I fell off the edge, that really is the final boss. You just have to go through an hour more of shitty platforming to finally see the credits. And I think if you give me a week or two, if I decide to make this my review,
mm-hmm.
which I probably will, and I take a little bit of time, mm-hmm. I will say, for the most part, I enjoyed this game, but coming off of what I just experienced for the last couple hours, I was so infuriated. Yeah. I didn't want to touch. I told my girlfriend, listen, if I pick a Wii game again that's not made by Nintendo, punch me in the face.
Oh, wow.
I was that upset with the controls of this game. Which is a normal problem or issue with non-Nintendo Wii games, is they just can never get that camera or controls to work that great. And I have been told by Sean that the second game is not very good, so I will probably skip it, because I was talking to him about where I was saying they were just missing a few things. But wouldn't you play a game like Epic Mickey, and you would actually go out and do the side missions or go the extra mile if you got something like old school Mickey Mouse cartoons?
Yeah, I
not
probably
just a
would.
trophy.
Yeah, I probably would. Yeah. Yeah, from basically everything you said, yeah, I can understand why you're disappointed, because I would be too. And I'm not even much of a Disney, aficionado, I guess I'm going to say, but, when you say it's going to be all about the history of Mickey Mouse and then not really deliver much history of Mickey Mouse.
Well, there's a lot of history, it's just in cameos.
Yeah.
And in the setup of the world.
Right.
But I think they really missed an opportunity. Like, I understand, this is a kid's game.
Mm-hmm.
So, as far as the side quests being boring or tedious, it was just to pad the games, because a lot of kids, they're just playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever, and I'm obviously being nitpicky about it, and sue me. But take out some of that, put in a couple extra cartoons, even put in old interviews with Walt Disney or something. Like, maybe the kid isn't that interested in interviews with Walt Disney, but just to be able to put that in and just go, this is a look into the vault kind of thing.
Yeah.
Not only would make this a decent game, but it would be an epic experience.
Yeah. I completely get where you're coming from.
And you could just sell it on, play your way through the history of Disney and learn and...
Yeah.
And that's why I think I'm so disappointed in this game. Unlike Deus Ex, where it was just frustrating and we just weren't able to get into that world. Mm-hmm. This one, I was getting into it. And would get yanked out of it with another mindless side quest or a camera turning on me or just going, oh, it'd be great if they did this. And it just wasn't there.
Yeah. Yeah. I can feel the disappointment, and I didn't even, I don't even own this game. It never really been on my radar, and once you started kind of explaining some of it to me, I was like, oh, hey, that sounds nice. And then to hear all this, it's just kind of like, well, shit.
It's like, I've skipped out a lot of... I'm a huge Dragon Ball fan.
Mm-hmm.
and I've skipped out on most of the games because most of them are bad.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of them, especially like the fighting games and stuff, go through the history of the show.
Right.
And like this new one lets you kind of change things or whatever.
Xenoverse,
I haven't played Xenoverse, but from everything I've read, things they change in it, and they let you make a character that's in that universe and changes it. And even that, I would like to then see them take the next step.
Right.
Like with Super Smash Brothers, you get, I mean, they're whatever, but you get figurines for unlocking stuff.
Right, yeah.
So, just more unlockables and more cartoons and more documentary stuff. Epic Mickey 3 for the new...
The NX.
NX console that'll come out in a couple years. Listen, do that.
Well,
please.
I'm pretty sure Junction Point closed down.
Well, I don't care.
Yeah, but you know...
Nintendo and Disney, work together. Please.
Breaking news, Kingdom Hearts 3 is actually Epic Mickey 3. Anyway,
Kingdom Hearts does a better job of bringing back worlds
than
Epic Mickey did. And that's disappointing.
Yeah, that is saying something there. So, you basically covered everything I had to say.
Sorry, I went on a rant again.
No, you're fine.
That's what I do.
Hey, no, you're fine. Like
I'm
I said,
ranty.
Yeah. Oh God. Oh. Ugh. Anyway, moving right along.
Please. Let's get to a good game.
Yeah. Let's, shall we?
Halo 2. That was a good game.
I was more thinking God of War.
Same game. They're both very colorful, very cutesy, lots of rainbows. Right?
I think you're thinking Diablo 3 instead of God of War. Yeah.
Diablo 3 has rainbows?
Oh, yes. There is an entire secret level because...
Oh, I didn't know about a secret level. I played Diablo 3.
Yeah.
Before you get into God of War, tell me about the secret level.
So, there is an entire realm in Diablo 3 called Whimsyshire.
Okay.
That you can access. There's a convoluted way you can do it in the original game, but in Reaper of Souls, you can actually, the expansion, you can actually access it randomly.
Oh.
But it's basically, they put this in after people complained that the game wasn't dark enough in original screenshots.
Oh, yeah.
So instead of, kowtowing to that, they basically gave a giant glowing rainbow middle finger and implemented Whimsyshire, because Whimsyshire, instead of being super grimdark serious graphics, is, all bright pastels, and the enemies are ponies, and cupcakes, and, sunflowers. And the terrain is hand drawn,
I have to see this level at some point. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's fucking amazing. But anyway, going back to not Whimsyshire, God of War, released on March 22nd, 2005 for the PlayStation 2. The version I played was the HD remaster, released November 17th, 2009. The game was originally developed by Sony Santa Monica Studios. The HD remaster was part of the collection, which was handled by Blue Point Games. Which, by the way, when I saw their logo come up, I was like, "Holy fucking shit! How many remasters did they do?" Because Blue Point now has shown up as the people on record for Eco. They did Eco and Shadow of the Colossus remasters. They did the Metal Gear Solid HD collection. They did the God of War HD collection. I'm pretty sure they had a hand in Zone of the Enders HD collection as well. Just about every PS3 remaster that I can think of was done by Blue Point, and I'm just like, holy Jesus, So that was kind of a one of the first things I noted was Blue Point again. Okay, sure, why not? So this game you play as obviously Kratos. And this game starts out with you on a boat given a task by the gods to get to Athens, where the god of war, Ares, is wrecking shit. Well, and, you start the game off, you've come across a shipwreck with the Hydra. And you have to kill the Hydra to get to Athens. And so, you're sitting there, you're killing the forces of Ares, and you get to the Hydra, and it becomes this huge, gigantic boss fight. And holy shit. I'd played God of War before, I hadn't played it in a while, and I had forgotten how basically they just put their foot right on the gas and do not let go for the intro to this game. Because, I mean, it even starts at the title screen. Because the title screen is, Kratos' face on one half of the screen and with a wall of flames behind him. And then when you hit new game, it pans back out and the flames die down to him, bemoaning, being a whiny bitch, basically. The gods of Olympus have abandoned me. There is no hope left. And he, casts himself from the highest point in Athens as dramatic music plays and the narrator says, he's...
War never changes.
Yeah.
No? Okay.
No. But, and then they flash back 3 weeks earlier and you're on a boat, so, you get to Athens and,
Okay, so before you get there, I want to ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Because you brought it up. God of War's opening level. Best opening level in video game history? I won't say most iconic, because, level 1-1 in Mario, you're never going to get more iconic than that.
Well,
but as far as, just turn this game up to 11, this is what you should expect from this fucking game. Is there a better, boss than the Hydra is, welcome to the game?
From what I've heard of 2 and to an extent 3, they try to one-up it. And I think I remember hearing somewhere that 3 almost, manages to succeed. So, out of stuff I've played, yes, I'm gonna say yes. But I'm sure, that anybody who's listening could probably come up with a couple of examples to at least make a decent argument. And if you are one of those people, Facebook, Twitter, etc., 411mania, backlogbusting.com, all that good stuff. But yes, the opening level is pretty strong. You're ripping your way through this ship, and then all of a sudden, oh hey, huge fuck off Hydra, So you kill the Hydra, you get to Athens, and you're fighting your way through Athens, trying to reach the Oracle to figure out your next step in the fight against Ares. And you get through Athens, and this is where I started running into some of my first problems with the combat system in this game. There is the town square in Athens, and it's one of the first times you encounter I forget the exact name of the enemy, but it's basically a huge a troll-like creature. It's not the centaur, but it's like a troll with a huge club.
Yeah, I can't think of names either, but it's been years since I played the game, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, and you're slashing away at him with the blades of chaos, and you're getting him down, and finally the circle prompt appears above his head for what became God of War's kind of calling card, the quick time event, mega kills basically, and when the circle prompt comes up and you hit it, I was having the issue of the game would just randomly go, oh, you're pressing the circle button near this troll with the circle button prompt over his head. I'm going to assume you wanted to travel 10 feet over to the right and kill the fuck out of this civilian for some health orbs. And that would happen 5 times in a fucking row. And I'm sitting there like, no, there's this troll here that I really want to kill with the damn execution minigame. Fucking do that! Go back over, hit the button again. Kratos would warp 10 feet to the right and kill another civilian. And I'm just like, God damn it!
Let's see why you're not playing the game right. You go through and you kill all the civilians first. And then you worry about the minor threats of these centaur beasts.
Yeah. But, and it was just like, okay. And it was a problem that, while it wasn't quite as bad as in that section, because that's really about the only time you have innocence, I'm going to say, even, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Stuff you're not actually supposed to be killing, mixed in. So a misfire isn't quite as annoying as it was in that section, but it still happened a lot. And I was just, it was just like, this game needed either a targeting system, like a lock-on system, or better priority on the QTEs. Like, if the game knows there's a QTE active, it should be trying to do that instead of, a regular grab on another enemy. Excuse me. So you fight your way through Athens, and then we get to the next big moment in gameplay where I was just like, fucking really? And that's the timed puzzle to save the Oracle of Athens, who is hanging on for dear life. I don't know if you remember this, but oh my god. Basically, you enter the Temple of Athens, and you've seen the harpies kind of taking her flying away, and finally she ends up hanging for dear life from this rope like 50 feet off the ground. And you get over, you start to move over to her and get up, like, close to her, on her same level, but on, like, the opposite side of the temple, and then all of a sudden the timer starts. And gears start spinning, and you just remembered the segment.
Is this a segment where you have to move the giant pillars into place and then jump them? Is that where I'm thinking?
I think there might have been something like that in this puzzle, but there's also like the gears spinning, like you climb up a wall and there's gears spinning, you have to time to jump past them.
Yeah, I don't know as much. It was just...
But the point is, the game gives you like 60 seconds to complete this task.
Yeah.
And if you're good, you will have 5 seconds left when you save her. And that's if you're good and you know what everything's going on.
I think the platforming was before the timer kicks on, but...
No, there's platforming after the timer kicks on.
What I'm thinking of, where
okay.
you're moving the giant columns around and then jumping across.
Yeah,
I just remember, for whatever reason, not being able to then jump on the second column.
Yeah.
But yes, I do remember the part you're talking about.
Yeah. So anyway, you save her and she goes, well, you have to go get Pandora's box. It's the only thing that can kill a god. And that's across this desert of the lost souls, yada, yada, yada. So, you get through all that. You get through the desert of the lost souls by killing 3 sirens, which that felt kind of fillery to me. Because basically the desert of the lost souls is this big, huge map where you can't see 5 feet in front of you because it's a giant sandstorm. And you find a siren by its singing, and you move towards the singing, kill it, its soul moves towards the door and lights up one of the 3 gates to unlock, yada yada,
Yeah.
Standard stuff. So, and then you finally make it to the temple of Pandora's temple. And you work your way through that, and now we get to, and I'm glossing over the normal enemies in the game, because the normal enemies in the game aren't all that difficult to me.
Yeah.
That they're a little meat wall sometimes, but for the most part, it's bash their faces in with the square triangle combo until the circle button prompt appears. Then do the circle button prompt and do the QTE, and
they're just the enemies that you fight just to look like a badass.
Yeah, exactly. And you sit there and you do that, and so then you get to Pandora's temple, and the game kind of shifts more towards puzzles. And the puzzles in Pandora's temple are pretty well designed for the most part. And then you get about halfway through Pandora's temple, and you encounter one of the most bullshit enemies I have ever encountered in a video game, and that would be the Cerberus.
Okay, I saw your note on here on our show notes about this. It's been many years. I don't remember what this boss is, so please elaborate on the bullshittiness of this. Okay,
so the Cerberus is, obviously, since God of War is basically Greek mythology, the video game, the Cerberus is the 3-headed dog that guards Hades, I believe. So you you come across this, and it turns into it's small pups. And, so you're like, okay, this is gonna be no big deal. And then one of them turns into the big bad Cerberus in a cutscene, and you're like, oh boy. And now you gotta fight. So you're sitting there, and your first instinct is, you've got the one big Cerberus running around and the three pups running around. Your first instinct is obviously going to be kill the big Cerberus. Well, you bash him and bash him and bash him, and you do a circle prompt, and you think that's going to kill him, but nope, he's one of the first enemies that takes more than one circle prompt to kill. And while you're doing all this, the other three pups will start turning into full-grown Cerberus pups, or Cerberus dogs. So, if you're not careful, all of a sudden you have like 4 or 5 full-grown Cerberus on your ass. And for the life of me, even after I realized I needed to, be doing crowd control, it became an unmanageable mess. Every single time there were Cerberus pups on screen, I would end up getting my face wrecked about 5 or 6 times by this boss by the Cerberus enemies before I could get a handle on things and get lucky enough to kill them. And it was, I honestly, I will admit, I'm not the best at video games, but at some point, I think it was just, especially the first time you face Cerberus itself, it became a thing of, they overtuned it. I really honestly think the Cerberus enemy is way too luck-based to be effective. Because like I said, if you get unlucky and, can't get the Cerberus down in time, and all of a sudden you've got 5 or 6 full grown on your butt.
But is that unlucky, or just on that run you didn't accomplish what you wanted fast enough? That almost seems like...
Well, no, the strategy I ended up using for the first fight was I would Medusa freeze the first big guy, and then I would start wailing away on the pups before they could get big. And the problem was, it didn't seem consistent that I would, number one, be able to freeze the big guy with 1 or 2 shots of Medusa, and then, while the guy was froze, do enough damage to him to shatter him. And I would be doing the exact same movements each time, or the exact same attacks. And it would just be one time he would shatter, and the other time the game would just be like, nah, fuck you. He's still alive. Have fun with that. And part of it was I did go into that fight with pretty low magic, but I couldn't do shit about it, So, maybe it was just something I was doing wrong in my strategy, but it was a consistent pattern that whenever a Cerberus was involved in a fight, I would end up redoing that fight a couple times.
Yeah.
So, anyway, you work through the puzzles in Pandora's Temple, and you go up into the Cliffs of Madness. And at this point, you've been seeing notes from the architect of Pandora's Temple to the effect of, I'm helping the gods out, this is great, and then it starts getting more and more depressed as, his family dies around him. And by the time you get to the Cliffs of Madness, the note basically says, I lost my kids and my family, and I've been grieving, so I may have designed a maze with no true way out. Fuck you. And so, the main puzzle I remember from the Cliffs of Madness is there's a room where you pull a switch, the gate drops behind you, and it drops a gate with a box. And then from that, and there's a whole bunch of spikes lining the floor. And then you have a certain amount of time to get that box from where it is, around a corner, to a wall, so you can jump up onto the box and then double jump up onto the ledge to proceed. And this is where I started to kind of go, oh god, because where I started to kind of solidify some of the problems I was having with the platforming aspects of the game, the controls. Because this puzzle is timed so meticulously that you have maybe a 1 second, if you're doing it correctly, 1 second before the spikes come up and you instantly die to clear the puzzle. And I just felt like I was really, really ridiculously overtuned for the precision level of the controls in the game. Because, this is jumping backwards a bit, but there's a room in Pandora's Temple called the Blades of Hades. Where you're, high above this room doing the balance beam mechanic, and there's, like, buzzsaws. And if you touch the buzzsaws, you're gonna drop and die. And, this is actually, I meant to mention this because, I forgot to mention this earlier, but the Blades of Hades was actually where my first run of God of War, back when it was on the PS2, stopped. Because I got frustrated at the jumping mechanics being what felt like completely random to me. Because
you don't like random in video games. We've been over that.
Well, there are some elements of randomness I like. But this was, if you're even looking at the left analog stick funny, the game will occasionally go, you're jumping 5 feet over in this direction, have fun doing that entire segment over again.
Yeah.
Which, I'm sorry, is fucking annoying. So, I already had that room kind of making me hate the mechanics, and then the spike box puzzle in the Cliffs of Madness made me question the precision even more, because if you kick the if you move the box wrong or kick the box wrong, and it gets caught up on geometry, you're screwed. And I just feel like they could have. I mean, I know God of War is a hard game. Don't get me wrong, but I feel a little bit of the difficulty is artificial, because it's a difficulty that stems from the game not having the controls for some of the puzzles they want you to pull off. Because a later section has the because once you get Pandora's box, you get killed by Ares and you're thrown down into Hades. And let's just get this out of the way. Basically, anything in this game that had the name Hades associated with it that was not the Army of Hades magic spell, I hated with a goddamn passion. Like, the Blades of Hades room is terrible. Most of Hades' challenge in Pandora's Temple itself is terrible. And then the entire Hades stage is really balls-to-the-wall difficult platforming. Including balance beaming on a spinning log that has blades on it that will kill you if you touch it. Or knock you off the platform. But anyway, so you fight through all that. You get done. You come back to life in Athens, and you have Pandora's box, and you fight Ares. And the final boss fight to this game is goddamn amazing.
That's the one where you're both really, really big.
Correct.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't want to confuse it with a different boss.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's, you start off, you use Pandora's box, you basically, like, Rita Repulsa throws down her staff from the moon and Kratos gets really big.
That's Power Ranger reference, I like it.
Yeah, I know, right? But,
my son would like it.
Yeah. But, so, Kratos, and then Ares goes all multi-winged angel on you. Like, it's like he hulks up and weapons start coming out of his back to form his wings. So, and then you fight him, and then you get his health down by, I ended up doing it. I had a full magic bar and maxed out Army of Hades spell. About 3 or 4 castings of that, and he was, pretty much down for the count. You do a QTE, because of course you do, it's God of War.
Yes.
And then he, pulls you into the nether dimension and shows you your family. Which, you killed as, part of your duties, to the God of War, who you've been serving before the game. You killed your family on accident, and that's part of the reason why you no longer like the God of War. Backstory that I kind of glossed over talking about gameplay. And then comes the hardest fight in the game for me. For some reason, the segment where you have to protect Kratos' family.
And there's just wave after wave, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Wave after wave of Kratos coming to kick your ass.
Okay, I do remember that.
Yeah. For some reason, I could not for the life of me get that fight to run smoothly at all. So, finally got through that, and that fight was so difficult to me, and you know me as a gamer, I don't usually do this. I threw my controller down in frustration at one point. Like, literally threw it, and it bounced under my TV. Like a good 10 to 15 feet.
That's a Randy move.
Yeah. I like I said, you know me. Yeah. It's more of a you move than a me move. Yes. But this fight made me do it. Yeah. So I finally cleared that, and then you go into the final form of the fight is Ares takes the Blades of Chaos, but you find this huge fuck off sword that was a walkway. You just grab it, and you're like, I have a sword now. And you go into the final phase, which is kind of an interesting little tug-of-war mechanic, almost. Because each combo you do takes hit points away from Ares' life bar and gives them to you. But if Ares hits you, it takes off your life bar and gives to him. Which I kind of thought was an interesting way to do the final boss mechanic, was, you know, it's not a discrete, you know, you both have separate health bars. It's almost, you have the same health bar, but you're trying to get it more on your side than Ares' side. And, you know, I just thought of this. I'm actually kind of surprised that they had the QTE, the fight-ending QTE be the first phase of the Ares fight, and not the last phase, considering how strongly God of War is built on its QuickTime events. There is no QuickTime event for the final phase of the Ares fight. Well, I suppose there's the weapon clashes that occasionally happen, but you know what I mean. Where the ending of the fight is not a QTE. It's just you complete his health. You complete, you know, getting your side of the health bar completely full. It fades to white, and the ending cinematic starts playing. Where you know shove the sword into the God of War's neck and kill him. And then, you know, Athena tells you, well, we just said we'd absolve your sins. We never said anything about making the nightmare visions of you killing your family over and over again every night for the last 10 years go away. So Kratos goes all emo, goes up to the highest point, and throws him off. Only to get plucked back up by the gods and told, hey, you're now the new God of War.
Hey, title.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much the last words you hear before the credits roll is God of War, which I was sitting there, and I know I've done this a few times before on this podcast, but again, I just heard, you're as the new God of War. And I'm just like, roll credits, ding. Like cinema sins, you know?
Yeah.
You know, so now that I've kind of rambled on through a recap of the game, I like the combat. You know, the QuickTime events are fun. I could have done with a little bit less reliance on precision jumping in a game that didn't really feel like it had a precise jump.
I remember that same. I remember hating the jumping.
Yeah, and I can sense that there's a good, it's a good game if they'd refine some of these things out. And from what I've heard about 2 and 3 and like Ascension and, you know, the PSP games, they did start ironing some of these kinks out. So I, at some point, will want to go play 2 and 3 and possibly even Ascension, even though apparently Ascension is not the best in the world.
Well, but good. I'm glad somebody played a good game that they enjoyed.
So
thank you.
Yeah. So, I know I rambled for a bit. Did you have anything you wanted to ask about the?
Well, I mean, I'm kind of just curious, just because you kind of hit the combat stuff, and you talked about a few of them, and you talked about your least favorite boss. I'm curious your favorite boss.
Probably the Iron Minotaur. The one where you have to, in the middle of Pandora's temple, there's this, key there's this door that's locked with the insignia of a Minotaur. And at the end of the hallway, guarding this room, is a giant like ballista that shoots flaming logs. And the first time you come into this room, you're thinking, okay, I have to shoot this flaming log at this door to get it to open. And you try it, and no, that doesn't happen. Okay, I guess there's this open door here, let's go try this. So you do all the platforming. There's a few more puzzles in between there, and this. But you finally get the door unlocked, and you start making your way back, and there's this pounding at the door. And this was kind of a moment where I was like, what the hell are you doing? Where you have to go towards this door that's getting pounded on to progress, and it's just kind of like, anybody in their right mind would be seeing this door pounding, and would just be like, I'm going to shoot a flaming tree trunk at this thing instead of run towards it.
I remember years and years ago, it was one of the Silent Hill games. I want to say probably Silent Hill 3. I was playing with a buddy, or my buddy was watching me play it, and I had that same kind of moment where something happened, like a noise happened or something like that. I literally took my character, turned around, and left.
Nice.
And stood there for a minute going, no, I know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Why game do you make this go?
Yeah. So anyway, and then, you run towards and the cutscene starts, and this huge armored minotaur comes out, busts out this door and roars at you. And so the fight is, you have to do enough damage to it to stun it, and then do a QTE to basically stun it even, you do enough damage to it to get it reeling, then you do a QTE that gets it, dazed and confused standing in front of the door, and then you run back to the ballista, and you fire a shot into it, and that cracks its armor. And you have to repeat that, I think it's 3 times is the first phase of the fight. And then once you do that, you have to deplete its actual health bar. And once you've depleted its actual health bar, you kill it with one final shot from the ballista. And, you impale it to the door, which, now that I think about it, is a nice little bit of foreshadowing, because that's the exact same way Ares kills you when you come out of the temple with Pandora's box, is he chucks a flaming log at you and impales you through the door of the temple. But, so, that was probably my favorite boss fight out of the entire game, because, the other ones I wouldn't really consider boss fight, because that would be, the Iron Minotaur, I'm trying to remember the boss fights that had an actual boss bar appear on screen. There's the Hydra, the Iron Minotaur, and basically Ares, I think. And that's it. The rest of them are just kind of like, well, here's a new enemy you haven't encountered before.
Gotcha.
So, we got yeah. You know what I mean? As far as actual, this is a boss fight moments go, it would have to be the Iron Minotaur. Oh, yeah. While I was basking in the glory of beating this game, we mentioned Small World before. There's been a name that I've been, that anybody who's been playing games has seen pop up a lot recently, and this is old hat to anybody that's been playing games, but Nolan North voices multiple characters in this game. And he also voices multiple characters. He voices a few, not major characters. I think he's soldier voices in Metal Gear Solid 4. And just about every game I've played recently has had Nolan North in it in some form or another. And it's just starting to be wow, I knew he was, he was getting kind of ubiquitous here in the last couple of years. I didn't think he was getting that ridiculous. Because, he's the adventure spear in Portal 2, and Captain Walker in Spec Ops: The Line, and obviously Nathan Drake in Uncharted, and David in The Last of Us, and just the amount of voice acting this guy does is insane. Randy just pulled up his IMDb and he's still scrolling.
So I was looking this up because I wanted a good segue. And the good segue is, with Nolan North, you're going to be playing a game with him voice acting again.
Huh.
So let's get into it. Next week's episodes,
oh, yeah.
For me, I wanted to play this game for a while, and they put up an edition of it for the PS4. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to be playing Guacamelee Super Turbo Championship Edition.
Nice.
Very curious. I've heard great things. Platformer. I love platformers, so I'm really excited. Wes, you explain yours.
Well, we announced this last episode that I was joining up the Final Fantasy V 4-job fiesta for charity. I then said I was going to live blog my experiences. Boy, that ended up working out really well, didn't it? I will try to catch up with that this episode. But my game for next episode is I will talk more in depth about my thoughts about Final Fantasy V as part of finishing up the 4-job fiesta. So I'll be playing Final Fantasy V.
Okay.
And then the game we are both playing is, it took me a minute to figure out where Randy was going with the Nolan North thing, it's Batman Arkham Origins.
Yes, as he plays the Penguin.
Yep. And we're playing this because Arkham Knight recently released.
Yes.
So we wanted to kind of finish up the only other game in the series that neither of us had played before.
And we're not playing it on a PC, because I've heard bad things about Batman and PCs.
Yeah. Well, actually, now that I think about it, Origin had a pretty rocky PC launch too.
So see, we're staying away from the PCs.
Yeah. So kind of, you just alluded this, will go right into News Roundup now that we've revealed our games for next episode. News Roundup this week, this episode, it's going to be a little bit brief, but it's two kind of the same story. First off, like you just mentioned, Batman Arkham Knight came out June 23rd. PC version came out, and it is riddled with bugs and crashes and glitches, and
the PC can't handle it. PC gamer bat. No, I'm kidding. PC gamer. I'm hunting for comments. All right.
Yeah. You said anyway. Moving on past him baiting the PC master race, but so game came out, and the PC version, for whatever reason, is performing like garbage. And backlash started. A whole bunch of negative Steam reviews got posted. People are taking to the internet, pissed, and it got to the point where Warner Brothers suspended sales of the game and posted a public apology and basically said, we are not going to flip the switch back on to sell this game again until we feel that we've patched the game satisfactorily. Which is a pretty nice stance to take, and it's one that hopefully is going to start becoming more common because another developer, as we'll discuss in a minute, did take this stance.
And it kind of helps, with Steam's refund thing that we had talked about before. So
yeah, it would Steam's new refund policy being a lot more lenient, a lot more return friendly. Publishers are going to have to start shipping complete games, because otherwise they're going to start losing a lot of money.
Yeah, so take this as a baby step of, yes, they made a mistake. They brought out a shitty game that, they basically gave to somebody else to do the port for, and it sucked. So, I mean, they came out and fully taken responsibility for it, and, they're going to fix it. It doesn't change what happened, but at least they are taking responsibility, so.
And speaking of game companies that released a shitty game and then miraculously took responsibility for it and fixed it, Final Fantasy XIV, A Realm Reborn.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Square-Enix finally said that they're sorry for all the Final Fantasy XIII games.
Nope, not quite.
They haven't come out and apologized for those yet?
Nope.
Oh.
So, obviously, Final Fantasy XIV started out life as a pretty bad MMO, because they were so focused on graphics that a pot of flowers had more polygons in it than an actual playable character model in the original version of Final Fantasy XIV. So they went back to the drawing board and they came out with A Realm Reborn. And that has, by all accounts, been performing fairly well, and it's actually a pretty good MMO. So it's been doing so well, in fact, that they recently released the Heavensward expansion. I may have mispronounced that. Don't care at this point. So they recently released this expansion. Actually, I think it was on the 23rd with Arkham Knight. And one of the other things they wanted to do for Heavensward is they wanted to give Macintosh gamers, Apple gamers, their own native client. Because before, Mac players had to install Boot Camp and then install a copy of Windows to run, Windows games, such as Final Fantasy XIV. Well, the Mac client for Heaven's Word is awful. Apparently, they basically coded their own version of Boot Camp almost, and it basically makes everything slow to a crawl, even on the most beastly of Macs. And so, of course, everybody, torches and pitchforks.
So you turn on Final Fantasy 14 and you start playing Dragon Warrior.
Yeah. Pretty much, apparently. But anyway, so they grab the torches and pitchforks, and there's an angry mob, and Square-Enix comes out, and I can't remember off the top of my head, I don't think they quite took the step of we're not selling Heaven's Word anymore for Mac, but they did go, we are working on it. We shouldn't have released it in this state. We're sorry. But for anybody that bought the Mac version of Heaven's Word and is unhappy, we will offer full refunds. So if you bought it from us, just get in touch with us and we'll start a refund process. And then we have been working with other retailers that you may have bought this from, like Steam or wherever, to get to, if you bought it from somewhere else, contact them and we will try to make the refund process as painless as possible. So it's really interesting to see two companies that released a game pretty close to each other that had disastrous, computer ports happen. Take the step of, okay, we screwed up. We're actually going to own up to this. And hopefully, like I said with Arkham Knight, this is the rule, not the exception, going forward.
Yes, I agree.
Because because I said it all the way back a couple episodes ago when I did the article about unfinished business, with games getting released in an unfinished state. If companies don't stop doing that, we're going to have a hell of an issue on our hands. And luckily, they have stopped kind of doing that. So, any other thoughts on that line of thought, I guess?
No, I just completely agree with what you've been saying, and, it's hopefully how things will go, and I would rather them, have games complete when they come out. Mm-hmm. I'm tired of these broken games that are always being released. It's a terrible trend. But at least they're now at least taking credit, or not credit, but
owning up
to it. Thank you. And fixing it and giving back a little bit, and that's a good sign.
Yep, it is. So that is about going to do it for this episode of the Backlog Busting Project. As always, if you liked the show, please leave comments anywhere you wish. iTunes, Blueberry, Stitcher, backlogbusting.com, 411mania.com/games, Twitter @backlogbusting, Facebook. I think that's just about it for the social media platforms we are actually on at this point. We will be trying to catch back up with things that we kind of neglected over the summer.
And I would like to bring up a point to that. I did finally get a third review out on 411 for Perfect Dark. I'm going to try to do a few more of those before I leave for Texas for 2 weeks.
Oh, by the way, Randy's going to RTX.
Yes, so I will be at RTX. I'm so excited. If you want to chat or anything or get a hold of me, same stuff as Wes has said before. And also, I have decided, since I suck at blogs and my brain just doesn't want to wrap around new ideas, I've decided to take the easier way out, but I'll have content coming out, and more frequently. So I have decided, and I have yet to tell Wes this, but every Thursday, I'm coming out with a top 10 on backlogbusting.com, so that you guys have more reason to come to our site and check it out. And the first one will come out this Thursday, and it will be the top 10 games that I have played for this project so far. Just to kind of get the ball rolling. So there you go. Breaking news. Even to my partner.
Oh, sorry. Bad soundtrack.
Because I feel really bad about, I think I've gotten 2 blogs out, and I've just kind of abandoned that process.
Let's see here. I think the last actual blog post I wrote was...
The E3 predictions.
The E3 predictions started to go wrong, which my intended follow-up was to post, well, hey, look at all those predictions that somehow went right, because half of that list came true. Because half of those somehow actually happened.
Yeah.
My intent was 5 things that aren't happening, shut up. It wasn't these things are actually going to happen. It was these things are not happening. Please shut up about them. And then, of course, Last Guardian happened. HoloLens happened.
Can next year, can you predict that E3 doesn't have, or not E3, but EA doesn't have a shitty ass press conference? Can you predict that, please?
No.
Okay.
Because they'll probably still be trying to push FIFA, so Pele will be dragged out again. Anyway. Randy's Top 10 on Thursday. I'm going to try to get a few views from the backlog done myself. I don't know what my blog post is going to be about this week, or this episode. We'll see. And we'll be around on Facebook and Twitter as well. So, until next time, like always, as Will Wheaton once said, play more games.
Okay, so, been thinking about it, and, so, you brought up earlier, your birthday's coming up, and Haley and I were thinking about it. So, Wes, brought you a cake.
Aww. Oh. Uh-oh.
The box sucks.
Oh.
Okay, so we're going to call that a companion GameCube, because the cake is, of course, a lie.
Yeah.
And, even though I just put my finger in the camera, maybe we'll put the video on the website.
Yeah.
So
actual cake! Yay!
Yay, actual cake!
I can eat for a week, man.
Yay, cake!
Yep.
Happy birthday, Wes.
Yay! 27. Yay. Actually, let's see here. The 9th will be on Thursday.
Might be a shitty video.
Oh well.
But yeah,
well,
there you
we're
go.
recording the video.
And we go get the other one, just because I want to show it.
What?
Your first attempt. So we bought. So this was her second attempt at this cake. The first attempt ends up being lucky for me because I get to eat it. But we went and bought the box after, and even the box makes that cake look small. But look what that was the cake before. So the cake would have looked really, really itty bitty in there. So you got a better cake.
Yeah.
And I had to text her because she had left for a little while, and she planned to come back so we could do this. Not because we talked about it a couple days ago. But you brought up your birthday, and I went, brought it up. Oh, we're still going.